I'm being joined by Bharat Barai right now. And Bharat, your analysis of the numbers, should we now a decision to be made? Are elections going to be called? Is it going to take just about a few hours from now, end of the day in the United States of America? Is it too early to call the election?
But the way it is trending, I would not be surprised if Trump becomes the winner, because the key states of Georgia, the lead is still over 100,000 votes, with almost 84% of the votes counted. Pennsylvania, he has over 100,000 vote lead. And in North Carolina, also he has over 100,000 vote leads. So with almost 80% of the votes counted in North Carolina and Georgia, if he maintains that lead, I think most likely he will win those states. And if he wins Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and we are not counting 4 others because they are too close to call. But if he wins these 3, I think it takes him to the path of victory. But I would not call it yet. I think we are closer to it.
Okay, at this point, it is a CNN projection. Harris will win Canada. That is no surprise over there. Professor Rohan Gunaratna, how do we view the swing states right now? You know, margins of leads that have been taken by the Trump campaign by the Republicans is marginal, from a few thousand votes to even reaching a margin of 0.2%, 0.3% lead, so which is just about a few hundred votes.
It is a very, very close call. That is why, although some say that Trump is going to win, what's going to happen in the coming hours is going to determine who the winner will be. But what is important for us to understand is that this election is a very acrimonious election, and it has global implications. That is why not only Americans, but the whole world continues to watch very carefully who is going to be the winner. It has security implications for geopolitics, implications for national security.
And let's take a look at the CNN numbers, because they're right now predicting, saying that Harris has reached the 145 mark. Trump continues to stay at 210. But the CNN projection also talks about Trump, who has won Idaho. It is, like I said already, the CNN projection, Harris will be winning California. Oregon and Washington have closed their voting. Also on the telecast with me and Adrian Calamel, how do we at this point of time predict who is going to win the election? Again, I asked Bharat Barai, is it too early to declare who is winning the election?
Yeah, I think it's too early to declare who's going to win it. I think there are some trends that are definitely favoring Trump when you look at the 2020 election versus 2024 election, in areas where Kamala Harris is underperforming compared to Joe Biden. It's in those swing states, and the Pennsylvanias, the Michigans, and the Wisconsins. Wisconsin will probably not know till the wee hours as to what the result's going to be there, because they're still going through 30,000 ballots that they need to recount. So Arizona is a big one that we need to be watching, and you're absolutely right. The left coast or the west coast, that's going to go completely blue. So we're going to be watching these. These are really tight races. It's too early to tell, but I would say if people were a Trump supporter looking at certain numbers, they would be feeling fairly positive. But 2020, they were probably feeling pretty positive right about this point.
Again, also, the West Coast, you're absolutely right. You know, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, you have, I think, barring Arizona, you also see North Mexico, New Mexico. So those are the numbers, those are the visuals on your screens. You know, the West Coast turning blue. Its lead margins for Kamala Harris are higher than Donald Trump. Numbers on your screens right now, Kamala Harris at 179 of those Electoral College votes, Trump at 214. So a marginal increase of 4 electoral votes for Trump. At this point of time, Kamala Harris has increased her vote share. You know, I'm also going to give you information. There are 100 million plus votes that have already been counted. Last time around, there was an unprecedented surge in the number of voters who cast their vote. 158 million plus voters had cast their vote. Is it going to cross the voter mark this term, the voter turnout mark this time around? Bharat, how do you have to predict whether there have been more number of voters that have exceeded expectations from the 2020 voter turnout? 66% of the voters had cast their vote last time around.
I think the number will be fairly close to it. You know, one thing I want to make a correction. Nevada is not counted in the Democratic side. In fact, in the pre-polling, Nevada was more Republican, though by a small margin of about 2 to 3 percentage votes. So it's a toss-up state along with Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, but then, you know,
What
like I
was
said, you know, I'm just
surprising
reading the
is
map right now. So it's Nevada at this point of time, Democrat leaning. It's Kamala Harris who's leading in Nevada, and of course, this could, like you said, it could flip any time as the votes are going to be counted.
You know, I start counting more seriously once at least 50% or more votes are counted. And as more and more votes are counted, 70%, 80%, if there is a substantial lead like 100,000 or so, that will make me to believe that this is likely to result in victory. Like in Minnesota, Minnesota should go to Governor Walz, who is from Minnesota, but Trump is leading. Now, I don't think that that Trump lead is going to persist because only 12% of the votes were counted when Trump was being shown 60% votes. So I think in Nevada, if at all, it will be a very close race, even though it might show Democratic with so few votes counted. Generally, when the urban area votes are counted, the Democrats lead. When the rural and suburban area votes are counted, Republicans lead. Another interesting thing, CNN pointed out, as my friend Adrian pointed out, they looked at the Latino votes. What percentage of Latino votes Trump had obtained 4 years ago, and how is the exit poll showing Latino votes going to Trump versus Harris. Now in Wisconsin, it is roughly same, but in Michigan, there is 15% deficit as compared to Trump. And I think in Pennsylvania also, one state, it was like 25% deficit. So if Biden won by a very small margin 4 years ago, and if Latino vote, which is no more than 6% of the total votes, but if Latino vote, there is a 15 to 25% deficit for Kamala Harris, that does not bode well.
Okay. You know, a lot of controversy that had erupted over the Latino vote and the Puerto Rican vote. There was Jennifer Lopez and other Latino celebrities who came out in support, but particularly with regards to that garbage remark that had escalated, that had blown up. Do you think this may have reduced the popularity of Donald Trump?
Well, if you look at the Pennsylvania vote, because there are almost 600,000 Puerto Rican voters in Pennsylvania. And yet, in Pennsylvania, by the exit poll, there is 15% deficit for Kamala Harris as compared to what Biden did 4 years ago. So apparently, it does not seem that it has mattered significantly.
Okay, all right. Professor Rohan Gunaratna, I'm going to again, put out these figures and the particular states that are Republican leaning or have been won by Donald Trump versus how Democrats are faring. And take a look at the West Coast. They have Maine, where once again Democrats are leading. There's no surprise over there. There at this point of time is New York, is what we had mentioned, a very safe Democrat state. It has traditionally voted for the Democrats over several decades, and then you know the margin of lead or the wins by Kamala Harris has trickled down to a zero, because you see Ohio, we see at this point of time Kentucky, we also see Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, you know, another swing state over there, Georgia, and Tennessee, and Virginia was perhaps a surprise, where Virginia at this point of time being you know, a state that is swaying towards Kamala Harris. So it could be called very soon now, and Kamala Harris in all probability winning that state.
Overall, Donald Trump is on the lead, but in the coming hours, this could change. That is why it is very important that we do not make a decisive statement as to who is going to be the winning candidate. What is most significant is that the American people, their traditional voter base continues to be maintained for both parties, as in many other elections around the world.
Okay, again, I'm going to put out the numbers. Once again, Harris has closed up in her number of votes that she's gotten, 153 versus Donald Trump at 211. Do you think this margin could be further reduced, Adrian?
Yeah, I expect it to be reduced rather quickly. I'm seeing some other places where they're showing 216 to 193 in favor of Trump.
Yeah.
So I mean, we just have to factor in that Washington, Oregon, California, they're all going to go in that direction, and
Correct.
they just haven't been tapped yet.
Right, absolutely, and taking a look at Central Coast, which has the traditional bastion of the Republicans and Donald Trump, and looking at that screen, that's North Dakota, South Dakota, we have taken a look at Kansas, we take Oklahoma, there is Texas, you take at Alabama, you take a look at Arizona, you take a look at Louisiana. So all these states have traditionally voted for Donald Trump. So these are the number of states are more, but it all boils down to the electoral votes.
You know, if you
Yes.
look at it,
Yeah,
Republicans
Adrian, yes.
haven't lost,
Yeah, okay.
Republicans haven't lost any state which were counted as their part, and Democrats have not lost any state that was counted with them. So 43 states are going according to the traditional way they've gone. There was a possibility that Virginia might flip, but it doesn't look like that it's going to flip. It was counted in the Democratic column. So now the tussle comes down to those 7 states which are considered the swing states, and at least in 3 of them, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, Trump seems to be doing well. I realize that till it is counted, but the way I look at it is, what is the margin at this time? How many percentage of votes are already counted? So if now 300,000 votes are remaining to be counted, is Harris going to be able to get 200,000 plus votes out of 300,000? That may be possible if a major city like Chicago or New York or Atlanta was not counted. But if it's a mixed, then that margin may get reduced, but I doubt that 100,000 plus margin can be overturned when only 15% of the votes remain to be counted.
Okay, all right. Adrian, what's your view at this point of time? A close call, too early to call at this point of time? Harris has gotten about 49 million votes, Trump at 55 million votes.
Yeah, it absolutely is too early to call. And back to the Electoral College, it's really important that people understand the importance of that. I think it's living in this, if you're in New York, for example, you look at, it's solid blue, the state, but it's a very tiny part of the state. It's New York City. If you look at upstate New York, western New York that touches the Pennsylvania border, it's all red. It's an all red state. So these things need to be put in place to kind of protect us from what, you know, somebody like Plato would call the tyranny of the majority in this type of situation. And so the Electoral College, I know people complain about it, go to the popular vote, but beginning of this election, we heard Republicans saying, oh, we should go to the popular vote. Now Democrats saying maybe we should go to the popular vote. It's going to stay the Electoral College. It needs to stay the Electoral College, and that's one of the unique parts of our system that I think makes this country unique. And I will double down in saying the most important thing, that there's election integrity, that this goes smoothly, and that there's a smooth handing over of power and the transition of power.
Okay.
That's what we want.
Okay, I'm going to again put out the numbers for the swing states. Pennsylvania, it's Trump who's leading. Georgia, where Trump is leading. Michigan, it is, a extremely tight fight. Trump and Harris at almost the same number of votes and same number of percentage points. Wisconsin, it's too close. Again, Trump is leading. Arizona, at this point of time, Trump is leading. Again, Trump is leading, but 0.1% point. We also take a look at North Carolina, where Trump is leading. Nevada, where counting is yet to begin. Arizona, where at this point, Arizona, of course, the Senate, where the Democrats are leading, are going to take a comfortable margin of win. Michigan Senate, again, it is Rogers, Republican. He has taken a massive lead over there.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.